gonna shine a light. We gonna shine it bright. We will trust in the Lord and the power of His might. We have it here for life.
Now let's go to the third head. Let's go to the third head. Spain. Spain. And out of Spain comes what? Good. All right. So many of you guys might know that. The Ephraimite brother right there. I know you're familiar with that, with the Spanish conquistadors. Right? The Spanish conquest of the Americas. Okay? Okay, so we're going over Spain, and out of Spain, we established came the Portuguese, all right? Brothers and sisters, all right? And we also had a few of them that had the Negroes from the west coast of Africa as slaves as well, okay? We're talking about the third head of the 7 heads. All right, so this is the asiento. I think I'm pronouncing that right. The asiento was the license issued by the Spanish crown. They were included in some peace treaties by which a set of merchants received a monopoly on a trade route or product. Example of it was the payment of a fee granting legal permission to sell a fixed number of African slaves in the Spanish colonies. Okay, and those Spanish colonies were in Madrid. You had slaves that went to Madrid. You had slaves go to Veracruz in Mexico. Okay, fourth. All right, now write down Zanzibar. Zanzibar, okay, was a Spanish/Portuguese colonized country in Africa in 1503. Zanzibar. Zanzibar. All in the name of resources, keeping his resources, okay? That's all the so-called white man was interested in doing. Having us as slaves and keeping his resources. Now let's go to what's next after Spain. France. Let's go to the 4th head, France. You had the French slave trade. Haiti is a prominent one. Who had the Haitians in the so-called Levi, the so-called Haitians who are known as Levi today in slavery? The French did. Okay. You have Morocco in 1912. These are countries in Africa, brothers and sisters, being subjected to European powers. Morocco, 1912. Fulani Empire, Fulani. Fulani Empire, 1903. Dahomey, 1894. Now, a lot of these places, you'll read somewhere where it said the British conquered Dahomey, and guess what? That is true. Remember, a lot of times Esau would fight within themselves to establish reign over a certain province or whatever they wanted. That's why a lot of times they'll build forts. I'm gonna show you that too. One in particular, let's say Elmina Castle. Elmina Castle was, you had the Dutch that had control of that. You had the Portuguese that had control of that. And the British had control of Elmina Castle. And it was a fort built to protect the resources that they had stolen in Africa, mainly the slaves and gold and oil and all of that, to protect the other Edomites from coming over and stealing them and taking control. In Puerto Rico, you have what's called El Moro that was built over there to keep out the other Edomites from coming in. Okay? So Dahomey, 1894. I don't know how to pronounce this. Obangui, Oubangui -Chari. Obangui Chari, 1894. You have Marina, Merina, 1885. You have Comoros, Comoros, 1843. You have Algeria, 1830. And a lot of Israelites, a lot of our people were in Algeria. All right, that was in 1830. Okay, now let's go to the fifth head. Germany, where we just came back from. And we had a good time blasting those Edomites and letting them know their future. All right? All those Nazis over there, all praises to the Most High, the word went out. And then when we left, I heard they got hit with a severe thunderstorm, flood, and all of that. Wherever we go and we leave, the Most High always brings some kind of judgment, man. Isaiah the 13th chapter right there. All right? Now you have Germany. Out of Germany, you had Dutch and Belgium, as we established. Germany, get me the video on Namibia. You have Burundi, Burundi in Africa. That was colonized by Germany in 1899. 1899. You have Rwanda, 1894. Then you have Namibia, which is around the 1900s and upward. Okay? Let's show you the video on Namibia. And we have Israelites over there. Why? Because we're scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Show that real quick.
In the first years of the 20th century, all the racial theories developed in the Victorian age, eugenics, social Darwinism, and scientific racism, came together in a forgotten outpost of colonialism. This is Namibia. But at the dawn of the 20th century, it was the German colony of Southwest Africa, and home to an ancient people called the Herero. In 1904, they rebelled against the brutality of German rule. What followed was to prefigure the worst crimes of the 20th century. The Germans committed innumerable massacres and atrocities, but they were unable to hunt down and destroy all the Herero people across such a vast landscape. And when the Nama, another of the Namibian peoples, rose up, the Germans turned instead to a recent invention, the concentration camp. In these camps, the Herero and Nama were imprisoned and enslaved. Thousands were worked to death, others raped,
Pause it.
atrocities.
What's that? Shackles. Shackles on their necks. All right? That's for the dumb black Hebrew Israelite groups that say they didn't know Israelites in Africa. And now all of a sudden they're trying to change their tone. Because the pressure's on them. The pressure's on them. Why? Because we bringing out the truth. All praises to the Most High God. So now they want to jump on the bandwagon. Oh, they might be Israelites in Africa. But before, I thought they were all ham. All right? That's shackles on their neck. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, right there. Come on.
Beaten or simply murdered by the guards. The most infamous and deadly of the camps was at a place called Shark Island.
Shark Island was established for the express purpose of killing people. Anybody placed on that island, everybody knew they were going to die. People knew that, the German officers knew that. If I were to have to use the language of the Nazi period, then I would certainly see Shark Island as a death camp.
The people were band together in Shark Island from all over Namibia. Hereros, Tamaras, Bushman, Nama. And they had cool-blooded murder there. My own family, my ancestors, they were also killed there.
In this desolate place, on the southern edge of Africa, 3,500 people were exterminated with the speed and efficiency that was to become the hallmark of 20th century slaughter.
How come they don't talk about this?
The genocide.
Whenever you hear about Germany, pause it, brother. Whenever you hear about Germany, all you hear is about Amalekites' Holocaust. Why don't they talk about this? Why don't these people get reparations? They're fighting for reparations now until this very day, but Esau's not giving it to them. But they'll give Amalek reparations. Come on.
The genocides which took place in Namibia in 1904 to 1909, they are the precursor to what happens in the Nazi period. They are the precursor. They have the same symptoms in the sense that you can see the bureaucratization of mass killing. And this, for me, is the central thing. It's not just killing for killing. No. It's a combination between killing and bureaucracy.
Today, Shark Island is a campsite for tourists. The Africans who were frozen and starved to death here have been almost erased from memory. But a century after the Namibian genocide, the true horror of what happened on Shark Island is beginning to re-emerge. In a recently discovered mass grave, just a few kilometers from the site of Shark Island, lie some of the victims of the 20th century's first genocide. Other victims were denied even the meager dignity of a mass grave. They became the raw material of racial science. Their skulls and even severed heads were sold to museums in Europe and used to prove the inferiority of Africans. The trade in skulls was so accepted that it was even depicted on a postcard.
That's it. All right. The full documentary is on YouTube. You can watch it on your own time. These people are the devil that the Bible speaks of. All right. There was one part of the documentary where they loaded a boat full of slaves, shackled them up and everything, and they put C4 inside of the ship, and they let it sail into the ocean and blew it up in the middle of the ocean. Okay, you can read about it. These same people, their ancestors are in Namibia right now, and they won't leave, and they're filthy rich. I mean, right, the indigenous of Namibia, they live out in the desert. They work for pennies per hour, okay? And they're trying to pass laws. They're trying to pass laws for reparations, but it keeps getting shut down. The Germans is telling them straight out, we're not leaving. That was back then, and this is now. Okay, that's how Esau thinks. Now, get me the picture of Elmina Castle, because out of Germany comes Dutch and Belgium, like we established. Give me the pictures of us going to Elmina Castle. This is in Cape Coast. This is in Ghana today. Okay, this is in Ghana today, and that's Officer Ezekiel right there. All right, we had a chance to visit Elmina Castle. This is the fort that the Dutch built, that the Spanish had a part of as well, and then later on the British, to what? To maintain, to protect their resources, which were slaves, gold, and so forth. All right, that's another picture right there. Get to the next one. There we go. There's the cannons pointing outward towards the ocean. All right, just in case any European ships would come in. Because remember, they were fighting over land. They wanted the resources as well. And we were that resources. Come on. Right there. That's it. All right. Now, I said Belgium came out of Germany, right? Give me King Leopold. We're just going to Google it. You can go ahead and just Google it. Pretty sure we heard of him before. King Leopold II. Put King Leopold Slaughter. This is another man from Belgium, right? He established the Belgian Empire, and he was the reason as to why Belgium is rich today. They were able to take all the resources out of Africa and build it and bring it to Belgium, mainly rubber. We'll just go through the images. All right, that's the devil right there on the third picture to the right. That's him right there. That's the demon that the Bible speaks of. Okay. Go up a bit. No, go up. Go to the first picture. Blow that up. Okay. You see what the brothers are holding in their hands? These were postcards. These were pictures. That's why in hold that picture. Get me Deuteronomy 28:51. Let's read that real quick. Deuteronomy 28:51. They were holding pictures of severed hands, severed baby hands, severed hands of old grandmothers, old fathers. Come on.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 51. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed.
Verse 50.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance.
There we go.
Which shall not regard the person of the old.
They didn't show regard to the person of the old.
Nor shew favor to the young.
Nor show favor to the young. And I'm going to show you an example of that. Close this out. Close this part out. Get to the main collage. Go down. Stop right there. Go to the left. Person of the young. These are real pictures. These are not a fairy tale. Okay, look at that. If they didn't come back with a certain amount of rubber, or they didn't want to work no more because they were working them to death, they would chop off their hands. They would chop off their limbs. This was King Leopold's men. People from Belgium, Edomites. X this out. Give me some more. Go to the right there, to the left. Right there. Look at that. More. Okay. You got a sister right there to the far left. She's up in age, chopped off her hands. This brother, they chopped off his nose. Okay? This was Esau that was doing this thing, man. All right. So, after Germany, you have the sixth head, which is Russia. Russia, oftentimes when we talk about Russia, we normally don't associate Russia with the slave trade. However, there were slaves in Russia. They did participate in the slave trade, maybe to not on a major level, to a minor level, right? Why? Because remember, during the Dark Ages, we were ruling over there in Russia. Okay, we were already over there. Okay, many of us had to flee out of Russia when Esau started to come back into power, and many of us was taken as slaves. Anyway, get me Google Abraham Hannibal, or Gannibal. There we go. Get me just type the first one. That should do. It's a black brother. All right. Some people say he was from Ethiopia. However, he was sold as a slave to Russia. And this, better believe, this was not the only Negro sold as a slave to Russia. Okay, our forefathers was up in there. Okay, it says Abram Petrovich Gannibal, also known as Hannibal, was a Russian military engineer, general, and nobleman of African origin. That's why we was able to overthrow Rome in 193 AD with Septimius Severus and take control of Rome, mainly the east side, and then give it the term Holy Roman Empire. Okay, although we weren't we weren't keeping the commandments when we were ruling Rome. Whenever we're in captivity and we're given any kind of leeway or any kind of education, we always rise up. We always rise up. That's why you have the inventions of today in America. That's why we were able to control the Dark Ages for over 1,000 of years, okay? When given the opportunity, when we're in our right mind, we can do great things. That's what you brothers and sisters must understand for today, all right? It says he was kidnapped as a child. Gannibal was taken to Russia and presented as a gift to Peter the Great, okay, where he was freed, adopted, and raised in the emperor's court household as his godson. Okay, and there were many other people that were made slaves in Russia. Lord willing, in the future, I'm going to go into this in great detail. Okay, I'm going to go into this in great detail about Russia. This brother, he had a son or a great-grandson, I believe, that came out of him. A great-grandson who was the architect for Russian literature and the Russian language. Okay, it was a black man. They don't teach us that in school. His name was Alexander Pushkin. Click on that. Okay, that's the brother right there. Okay, he was the architecture of Russian poetry, Russian literature today. His name is Alexander Pushkin, a black man. All right. Now let's go to the seventh head, Great Britain. We know Great Britain's participation in the slave trade. All right, we've heard it before. We were made slaves in the UK, right, and so forth. However, the colonization of Africa was great amongst the British. which is the 7th head of the beast. Okay, you have the Fulani Empire, 1903. Fulani Empire, 1903. You have the Swaziland Empire, 1902. You have the Ashanti Confederacy. Remember, the British was fighting up against the Gold Coast of Ghana. The Ashanti Confederacy is Ghana today. That's 1900. Brothers, write this down. I'm telling you, write it down. Kingdom of Benin, 1897. Bunyoro, Bunyoro, 1897. Jabu, Ljebu, 1892. Bechuna land, Bechuana land, 1885. Egypt, 1882. Zulu land. Remember, they came up against the Zulu. That was the whole thing in that movie with Shaka Zulu and so forth. All right, Zululand, 1879. Fanti Confederacy, 1874. And Basuto land, Basuto land, 1868. And we had Israelites scattered in all those places. And out of Britain comes what, brothers? America. Out of Britain comes America. All right, the United Snakes of America. All right. Everyone knows about America's involvement in the slave trade. However, some people are not privy of the involvement of the aforementioned European nations. That's the nations that we just went over. So now you know what countries they colonized over there in Africa. Give me Revelation chapter 18. We're almost done, brothers. Almost done. Sisters, almost done. Revelation chapter 18. Start at verse. Somebody get me Babylon at 10 buck 2 if you got it. If you got it on you. Start at verse 1.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have...
It says for all nations, brothers, all nations. Not only Esau, Ishmael, everybody else. All nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Read.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people.
So the Most High God is commanding us to come out of her before what? Before he brings the plagues. Come on.
That ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Come on.
For her sins have reached unto heaven.
So America's sins have reached unto heavens. And all nations had what? They have been in bed with America, committing spiritual fornication. It's going to explain how. Come on.
And God hath remembered her iniquities.
Come on.
Reward her even as she rewarded you.
And that's what we should be praying for every night. Most High, reward this place as they has rewarded us. Come on.
And double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself.
Come on.
And lived deliciously.
And lived deliciously. How has she lived deliciously? Colonization, slavery, conquering lands for gold, oils, drugs. Because that's their God. Gold, oil, and drugs is Esau's God. Come on.
So much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
Surely the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee. That's how she's able to sit, right? And say that no sorrow shall come to her. Read.
Therefore shall her plagues come in one day.
Thermonuclear destruction shall come in one day. Come on.
Death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire.
She shall be utterly burned with fire. Come on.
For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her.
So America was established. It took a couple of centuries for America to establish itself, right? But God said he's going to destroy it in 1 hour. In 1 hour. In 1 hour. Come on.
And the kings of the earth.
And the what?
And the kings of the earth.
All nations.
Who hath committed fornication and lived deliciously with her.
How did they do that? Because let's say Germany, right? Germany doesn't want to give reparations to those people that were affected in Namibia, right? By the colonization and the slaughter, all right? America can easily tell Germany, you better pay them back. But they won't tell them that because then Germany will say, well, you got to pay the Negroes back. But America would tell Germany to pay back Amalek. America would tell Germany, no, you got to pay them reparations for their Holocaust. But how come America is not saying nothing on the behalf of the people in Namibia? Because America's guilty of the same thing. America's guilty of the same crime. Okay? And we're going to speak about them Israelis soon, the Amalekites. Come on.
She shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning.
Yeah, so the Most High is telling you how America is going to be destroyed. The smoke of her burning. The only thing you could possibly think is not a forest fire. It can't be somebody lighting a match somewhere and accidentally dropping it and it's going to go from one block. No, I'm not talking about. It's thermonuclear war. The only thing that could do that is thermonuclear destruction. Come on.
Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, the great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
All praises. Keep reading.
And the merchants,
those kings, those other nations, come on,
of the earth shall weep and mourn over her.
Why?
For no man buyeth their merchandise anymore.
So they can't wax rich off of America anymore. Come on.
The merchandise of gold.
They stole that. America stole that. Germany stole that. Spain stole that. Dutch stole that. Portuguese stole that. French stole that. Come on.
And silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all that and thine wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour.
And what? And oil. Keep that in mind. And oil. Come on.
And fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves.
And slaves. How were they able to get all these things? Through slaves. Because they did not work for it. They did not pick for it. Slaves got in those things. Okay? Slaves and what?
And souls of men.
Slaves and souls of men. Slaves and souls of men. Give me 1 Maccabees 3:41. No new thing under the sun. No new thing under the sun. They will kill and slaughter for gold, oil, and drugs, and souls and slaves of men in order to maintain their superiority in this earth. All Edomite nations. 1 Maccabees 3:41.
1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 41. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, took silver and gold very much with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves.
Who were they buying for slaves?
The children of Israel for slaves.
No new thing under the sun, brothers and sisters. No new thing under the sun. Now get me Babylon at Timbuktu. Get me the part about the slave markets were full. I think it's page 80-something.
Page 84. Babylon to Timbuktu, Rudolph R. Windsor. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter.
This was Rome.
During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and
why does it say military governors of Palestine? Because they were being occupied. The same way America's occupying countries today. The same way the European powers are doing it today, they were doing it back then. Okay, come on.
many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves.
So the slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves, okay? Now, get me Sirach 39:26, because we've been reading about, and I've been stressing that word oil. You're going to find out why I've been stressing it for a reason. Because Esau just doesn't do things for no reasons. When he came over there and conquered us on the west coast of Africa, when he came over here and conquered the indigenous of America, the Gadites and so forth, Issachar, it was all in the name of resources. Okay? It was a punishment from God for us breaking his law, but it was all in the name of resources. Okay? He wanted to control everything. Okay? Give me Sirach 39:26.
Sirach chapter 39 and verse 26. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt. Flour.
The principal things for the whole use of man's life is what? Read it again.
Are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil.
And what?
Oil.
And oil. Esau understands this. It's Jake who's fighting over blocks and fighting over Puma sneakers who don't. That's why Esau is busy trying to conquer the whole world. For what? For oil. For oil. Right? Now get me Revelation 2 verse 9. Because there's one person that we left out that we didn't really get to mention. And guess what? They're Caucasians as well. All right? I know some of you still have this man sitting up in your mind as the Israelites, as the Jews, but the Bible says they are not Jews. They are still Caucasians. And from what we've been reading thus far, Esau has the habit of conquering nations for either gold, oil, drugs, or just slaves, just to be dominant. So what happened to the man over there in Israel now calling themselves Israelites, calling themselves the Jews? They're doing the same thing. Don't let them pull a wool over your eyes. Now y'all can't see. When you look at them, you think they're Judah, they're Benjamin, they're Levi. No, they're the devil that the Bible speaks of still. And they're masquerading as us.
Shalom. This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stay up to date with our latest events, music, and classroom lessons. IUIC plans to continue visiting different countries where this gospel has not been preached before. IUIC needs your help in pushing this truth. So join us. Subscribe to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and podcasts, and stay up to date with us. For more information, please visit www.israelunite.org.